Welcome back, dear students. Sorry for the delay. Um, I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so we were discussing about variable arguments, and we saw that variable argument when it is being used, it must be the last parameter for a method. Otherwise, it creates confusion. That is the reason why they say that variable argument must be the last argument whenever you are using it. And we are also clear that variable argument is just a kind of wrapper on array. I mean, this facility was always there, but the only thing is they changed the way we are using it. Otherwise, when you are receiving an array, it also does same thing as the variable argument. Now let us see, this variable argument uh, also has some ambiguity when we are using it with the method overloading. See here. Uh, so I say class variable argument overloading, right? Variable argument with the method overloading. Okay. So say for example, I've got two methods. The first method returns, I'm making it static because I want to call it from within main method. And its call won't be possible if you do not make it static, because main method is static and only only other static methods can be called from within main method. So I have to make it static. So its return type is, say for example, integer. I say it is sum, and it accepts a variable argument integer a. Right? As you would expect, it will do nothing. It will just calculate the sum, which is initially 0, and for integer I in a, for each value in a, we say sum plus equal to I, right? And then when it is done, we return sum. That's it, right? Now we also want an overloaded version of same method that will be accepting double, right? So static, we say some double, so this will be doing this, and then this one is now double. This has to be double, right? And this will also be double, right? So double for each value inside a, give it to I, and then add that to sum, and finally return sum, right? And then we have our public static void main string arg, and inside this method, inside main method, you know that when I say sum 1.2, 3.2, 24.5, I mean whatever numbers you're going to pass, 1.2, 3.2, 24.32. I mean, you know that it makes sense that this call should be calling the method 2. So for example, I name this method as method 2, right? And this method, we name it method 1, right? So when you're passing double values, you know that this call will actually invoke this method, right? This call will invoke this method because we are passing double values. Let's check. Let's check. The method name is variable argument overloading dot java, right? So TLS Java C variable argument with overloading dot Java. Right, so that's fine. I mean, we are calling second method Java variable argument overloading. So you can see it performs the sum. Right. Maybe in order to make it more readable, I can write here system.out.println method. So when this method is called, this will write method 2 called. Right. Just for our understanding to see which method has been called. And here we say method 1 is called. Right. You can see here, yes, Java C, Java, you get the method 2 is called. Because we are passing, the numbers which are double. Now, if I'm passing integer value, you know that this will call method 1. Java C, Java, you can see method 1 is called. Method 1 is called. Right. But let's say, for example, I do this. Some of them are double and some of them are int. That is still okay. I mean, Java will be able to, type promote to this 1, make it 1.0, type promote to this, make it 2.0, type promote to this 1.0. So there should still be no issue for Java to invoke method 2. To invoke method 2. Right. But see here, this statement is confusing. Variable argument means we can even pass a 0 argument. Now, when we are passing 0 argument, now this is confusing. You know why? Because this call is perfectly suitable for this method as well as for this method. Because we are passing no argument. Now, when you pass no argument, then this statement becomes confusing. And Java does not allow such type of confusing statement. That is the reason why this will be a compile time error. I mean, the reason is simple. We are actually making compiler confused because compiler in this case cannot decide, should I call method 1 or should I call method 2? So such type of confusing statements are not allowed in Java. So this will be a compile time error. Let's check it. Java C. Really? Let me take it. Method 1 call with 0. Why? I think it should be an error. It should be an issue. It should be an issue. Let me check it. Integer A and integer A. Right. So I pass 5. Okay. Then we see what happened. Java C. Yeah, confusion occurs. Confusion occurs when you actually have more than one argument. As in this case, you can see we first is integer and second is double. This is confusing for a compiler. I mean, the previous case, when you're passing 0 argument, it will still resolve it to method 1. But when you have got more than one parameter that we have in this case, and same is the case here, now compiler becomes confused. I mean, compiler says, okay, the value first I'm giving to this integer, but same is true for this one, because this also takes the first as an integer. So I don't know which method should I call. Should I give this 4 to this method or to this method? Because in both cases, these two methods, both of these methods qualify this call. Both of these methods are absolutely okay to be called with this call. Right. I mean, when you do not pass anything, it is still okay. It will call first method. I mean, in this case, obviously it is an error because this one is mandatory. This one is mandatory. You have to provide this one. You have to provide at least one value. So when you provide one value, now compiler is confused because this method is eligible for this call. 5 will be given to this, and this one will be considered a 0 argument, right? But same is true here. So 5 will be given to this, and this will be considered as a 0 argument. So this is a classical case which is confusing for the compiler. So such type of confusing statements are not allowed. So you can see Here, can I declare both A and A in sum? Right. Even this one is another error. Maybe I can call it X. I can call it X. Right. Let's check it. If this one is confusing or not. CLS, Java C. It resolves. It resolves. Let me check it. Method 1 is called. I think this must be update in the latest version. Otherwise, up to JDK 5, these confusing statements were not allowed. I mean, if you read the book, it will tell you these confusing statements are not allowed. But it seems like in the version that I'm using on my machine, it is allowing it. Let me check it. Recursion, exploring a string, variable argument, variable argument, ambiguity. Right. So this ambiguity here, this is with integer, and this is with boolean. Right. So if you are passing with integer, it's okay. If you are passing, boolean, it is okay. But this one is confusing. So maybe up to JDK 5 it was, or maybe when it is with the boolean. Let me check it. So if I remove this one and I keep here as a boolean and b, right? Boolean b, and we are doing nothing. We do not return anything. We just display the value. So I can write here void, right? And then I say for boolean a in b, and every value that we get, we are doing nothing. We are just displaying it. System.out.println a, right? So whatever boolean value you are passing, we are going to display them. Same arrangement we do with this method 1. It returns void. It returns void, right? And here we for integer x in a, and then system.out.println, we print x, right? So these are integer values and these are boolean values. So if I'm passing, say for example, the method name is sum and sum. Okay, method name is sum. So if I'm passing integer, that method 1 will be called. Let's check it. Let's check it. Method 1 will be called sum. Okay, white type cannot be. Okay, so we just don't need to print. Print is being done inside the method. We just call the method, right? Okay. So CLS, Java C. You can see this one is not confusing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We just display it, and alternately when I pass, say for example, true, false, true, right? Let's check it. If this one is also not confusing for compiler, so this should work. Java C, Java, right? But I think this one will be confusing when you pass nothing, right? Let's check it. CLS, CLS, okay. Java C. Yes, now reference is ambiguous. I mean, it was just because I was using double and int. So in that case, they are kind of numerical value. So Java can still resolve by type promotion. But here, Java cannot do type promotion. I mean, when you pass nothing, then Java is confused. Should I call this method? Because it can also have 0 argument, and then I display Boolean value. Should I call this method, which is numerical value? Right. So confusion is created when distinct type of values are passed. I mean, in first case it is integer, and second case it is Boolean. When it is double, it is still okay. I mean, we have seen this was working. Although initially I was thinking that this should also be confusing, but compiler resolves this situation, because in that situation, type promotion The relationship is always there between these numerical values. So you can see here Java compiles it, Java, we are passing nothing, so we are not displaying anything, right? So when it is all numerical value, it's okay. But when it becomes a non-numerical value like Boolean or maybe also a string, then this should be an issue. Then should be an issue. So CLS Java C, you can see reference to sum is ambiguous. It says that I don't know which method should I call, because you're passing me no argument which can easily resolve to this method and also to this method. So it says I don't know which method should I give preference to. When both of them were integer or Boolean, because they have the type promotion relationship, so that was still resolvable. But when it becomes Boolean and a string, then Java cannot make sense of this call. So you need to keep this ambiguity in your mind when you are using a variable argument. I hope that's clear. Any question?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Okay, great. So that was the last topic in this chapter. We now move to the second principle of Java, which is inheritance. I have opened it. Yes, it's here. So inheritance. I think in the very first class I told you three basic principles of object-oriented programming. First one was encapsulation. We have already seen encapsulation in action. Whenever we have got data which is made private and it is encapsulated inside some boundary, and outside that boundary your data is not accessible, but you can still access that data with the public methods. We have seen that accessor and mutator concept. We saw that we can still access private data by using public method, and such arrangement is actually a kind of encapsulation concept in real world. String class, we have already covered a lot about it. Concatenation example, we have seen equals, length, character array method, we have already seen. These two operators, we are pretty much clear, right? Now let's see the inheritance concept. In inheritance, I mean, because in real world, inheritance is pretty much existing. You will see in real world, this concept is pretty much always available. For example, we as a human being, we are inherited from our parents. I'm inheritance of my father. I will inherit lots of his biological characteristics, and obviously I will inherit the money that he has earned in his life, and whatever I'm earning, I will kind of transfer it to my kids. So one classical example of inheritance is this parent-child relationship that we have in our real life. But that's not the only relationship. You know that even this device is inherited from some class. So if we say this is mobile phone, this one is inherited from electronic device, right? If this is the remote, this is again an electronic device, which is inherited from a class of electronic device, right? So usually in real life, we have got this concept of inheritance. All the objects have got a relationship with each other, and they are connected in a kind of inheritance relationship. So that is the reason why in programming, we should have capability to implement same concept of real world inheritance. Right, here is a classical example for inheritance. We can have an animal, right? When you say an animal, all the animals should be able to eat and sleep. These are the generic capabilities that an animal should possess, right? But this animal can be a superclass, can be a parent class for a subclass, or for a child class that we call a reptile, right? Now reptile is an animal. Remember, this is a relationship. From child to parent, the relationship is called is a relationship. So we say reptile is an animal, right? Now, along with eat and sleep, These are the methods, or these are the functions that it inherit from its base class, from its parent class. But additionally, a reptile can crawl. I mean, you can imagine if you keep this crawling method inside animal, then that does not make sense, because even a buffalo is an animal, but it cannot crawl. Right, you need to understand that anything that we have in the base class, it will automatically inherit in the derived class, which means that if we keep crawl here, we will be violating the inheritance rule, because all the animals cannot crawl, only reptiles can crawl. Right, similarly, from animal, we have got some animal which are mammal. Right, now these mammal animals are those animals which actually breastfeed to their child. So we need to understand that human is a mammal, because they rely on the milk from their mother, right? So we need to understand that all the animals are not mammal. I mean, your reptiles are not mammal. They do not breastfeed to their child. So an animal, and there can be two types of animal, reptile or mammal. Some of the methods which are very specific to reptile, they should be in the reptile class rather than in the animal class. And some of the methods which are very much specific to the mammal, they should be inside mammal rather than in animal class, right? And human is a mammal. The reason is human can eat, human can sleep, human can breastfeed, and human can speak, and human can walk. I mean, these are the additional capabilities that human has in comparison to all other mammals, right? So we need to understand that those functions which are specific to some class, they should be declared in that class. But those methods which are generic, those methods which are general, then those should be declared inside the superclass, right? In inheritance, I mean, access modifier we've already seen. You know that in Java we've got 4 access modifier. Those are default, private, protected, and public. This access modifier will be further elaborated when we'll be covering packages. But you need to understand, if you are within the same class, then everything is accessible, be it default or private or protected or public, everything is accessible. But if you are within same package and subclass, default is accessible, only private is not accessible, protected is accessible, public is accessible, right? And if you are in the same package and if you are not a subclass and you are trying to access through object of that class, then default is accessible, private is not accessible as usual, protected is accessible, and public is also accessible. I mean, this is when you are within subclass, and this is when you are trying to access through reference of that class. When you are trying to access with the reference of that class, only private is not accessible, everything else is accessible, same as the second element. But if you are in different package and in subclass, then default is not accessible. I mean, we say default is package level access modifier. Only within package default is accessible, but outside the package it is like private. So you can see default is not accessible to subclass in different package or non-subclass in different package. In both cases, it is not accessible. So that is the reason why we usually say default is a package level access modifier. Right? Private, certainly no. Right? Protected, if you are in subclass of different package, then yes, otherwise no. And if you are in subclass of different package, then public is accessible, and public is even accessible when you are not in subclass and you are trying to access through a reference. Don't worry, you don't need to do ratification of this table. You just need to grab the concept, and you will slowly, gradually earn a mastery on it when you do a lot of practice for that. Right. Let us see some example. Only then we can make sense of all these concepts. So let me do a notepad. I don't know why my machine is slow. Okay, so see here, what I'm doing, I say a class animal, a class animal, right? An animal what methods we have written here. They can eat, they can sleep, right? Maybe I can write here int void eat, right? And void sleep, right? An animal can eat and sleep. These are the two methods which are most important. And by the way, because we don't know which animal we are talking about, so obviously we should not write anything inside this method because we don't know. Or maybe we can simply write here system.out.println. It is still undefined because we don't know which animal we are talking about. We might be talking about a human. And when you talk about a human, you cannot write human is eating grass. Huh? So println, and this one is also undefined. At this stage, this one is also undefined. Right. But if say, for example, I have a class and maybe in order to make it more readable, I will use multiple files. So this one is animal dot Java, right? And then I open another notepad. In this notepad, I say class, say for example, cow, or maybe cat, right? Class cat, right? I also add one more method to make things more interesting. I say void sound, right? We don't know what is the sound of animal at this stage because we are not sure which animal we are talking about. So at this stage, it is undefined. We don't know what animal we are talking about yet. Right, so this is the animal class. Inside cat class, we say that it's cat dot Java. So here we say cat extends animal. This is how we do inheritance. We actually create a class cat and we say it is extending, I mean, it is subclass of class animal, which means that animal is parent class and cat is a child class, right? Okay. Now here, what I'm going to do, everything that is defined inside animal, you can additionally define inside cat, right? For example, I say white, I say food, the food of the cat, right? So I say system.out.println, food for the cat is milk. Food for the cat is milk. Maybe let me just remove eat from here because for the time being, I do not want to discuss method overriding. Right. So I have created a cat and cat is extending from animal, which means that it can access all the methods that we have in animal class. And additionally, it is having its own method, which is the food method, Right. Now, what I'm doing, I create another notepad inside this notepad, I say inheritance demo. In this method, I say public static void main string arg, right? Okay. Inside this method, I'm saying cat c equal to new cat, right? Inheritance demo dot Java. Inheritance demo dot Java. Right. So we create an object of class cat. Now, when you create object of class cat, certainly you can call food method. I mean, as usual, because we are creating object of that class, so we can access, its method. So I can write here c dot food, right? You know that this food method will be called from the cat class and it will display milk. Right? So I compile inheritance demo, it will compile everything else. Java C inheritance demo dot Java. You can see it has been compiled. Java inheritance demo. That's it. Right. So you can see it displays milk. But the good thing is, along with milk method, I can also call, say for example, sleep and sound method, right? Sleep and sound method. So I can call sleep method. Now you know that sleep method is not available in Kate class. Now when sleep method is not available in Kate class, it will be called from within uh, animal class, from within animal class. You will see that the sleep method, you can see inside Kate, we do not have sleep method. You can see inside Kate, we've got only food method. But I can still call, the sleep method because sleep method is available inside animal class. Sleep method is available inside animal class. So you can see here, if now I compile inheritance demo, and you can see undefined. Though it is undefined because Kate has yet not defined what it is going to eat. But the thing is, we are able to call the sleep method. Same way we can also same way we can also call any other method that is defined inside any other method that is defined inside the parent class, right? So say for example, inside this inheritance demo, if I say c dot, and if I'm calling a sound method, I should be able to call this method too. The reason being, animal and Kate, they both are associated with each other inside inheritance relationship. So you can see this should also be okay. We compile this and then we run it. You can see even the sound method has also been called. Right. So we had sleep and sound method inside animal, and we had inside Kate. Inside Kate, we had this food method. We were able to call not only food method, but we are also able to call sound and sleep method. Right. Now you might say, come on, we called those two methods, but they were not making a lot of sense because they were undefined. I mean, if you want to call a method on Kate, it should tell us what the sound of the Kate. So here's the answer. The answer is yes, you can override that sound method inside Kate class. So now I say I'm going to override. Now this is called method overriding. Method overriding. It's not overloading. This is overriding. Method overriding means you've got a method in the base class, and with the same name, you've got same method in the derived class, right? And when such is the case, then when you're calling a method on the reference of a class, then the method will be called from the class whose reference it is, right? So you can see here, maybe I can say the sound inside base class is undefined, but sound inside Kate system.out.println, the sound for the Kate is meow, right? The sound for the Kate is meow. So now if I inside inheritance demo, this food will be called from Kate. This will be called from base class. The sound method, which is in both in animal as well as in Kate. But because this reference is of the Kate class, so that is the reason why the method will be called from the Kate class. I mean, this reference as well as this object, both of them are of the Kate class. So that is the reason why this sound will be called from the Kate. So this will not be undefined now. It will be now meow. You will see it. Let's check it. Java C, Java. You can see here meow. Right. And when we called sleep, because inside Kate there is no sleep method, that is the reason why it was called from the animal. It was called from the animal. Certainly, you can override sleep method inside Kate class also. So say for example, I say void sleep, right? So system out println, right? Sleep anywhere. Kate can sleep anywhere. Kate can sleep anywhere. right? So you know now the same statement which is calling sleep method, it will be called from the Kate class. The reason being, you know, it is the object of Kate class. So it will call the methods which are available in Kate class. And if they are not available, then it will try to find those methods from the base class. And base class is the animal class. It will see if these methods are defined in the base class. If they are defined in the base class, then it will be called from the base class. So in this case, you know, now all these three methods are being called from the Kate class. The food method, the sound method, the sleep method, all these three methods will be called from the Kate class because they are defined in the Kate class. They are the nearmost available methods. But if some of these methods are not available, then base class will be searched for. You know, then your runtime environment will check if that method is available in the base class. Obviously, if it is not available even in the base class, then it will generate an error. So let's check it. This time, sleep should be called from the Kate. So I recompile it. So you can see milk, cat can sleep anywhere, right? And meow. Because cat can sleep anywhere is actually written here inside the cat class. Because if you see inside animal, the sleep was undefined. But inside cat, it is pretty much defined. I mean, if you are talking about crocodile, then we should write they sleep inside water. If you are talking about human, we should say they sleep on bed, or maybe some people can also sleep on ground, right? But the thing is, you know, sleep function is different depending on which animal you are talking about. I mean, if you are talking about a snake, it cannot sleep on ground. It usually sleep underground, right? If sleep on the ground, then human will kill it. So the thing is, you know, different animal, different behavior, different functions, right? Remember one thing, all the capabilities that we have in the base class, they are automatically driven to the derived class, except the private, right? So, uh, Saika, do you have a question? You have unmuted your mic. Saika, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So see here, now if inside animal, I make this method as a private method, private sleep, right? And inside Kate, say for example, I do not have sleep method. Previously, when sleep was not available in the Kate, then compiler looked for the sleep method inside animal class and it executed that method from the animal class. But now that sleep method is private, which means you cannot call this method on Kate. And you can even not call this method on animal. The reason being, it's a private method and it is not accessible outside the class definition. It is not accessible outside the class definition. So you will see that this time this should be an error because that sleep method is private inside animal. So you can see cannot find symbol sleep. So it says I don't know where sleep. So you have not defined any sleep. Because if you see inside Kate, we do not have sleep method. Although we have sleep method inside animal, which is base class for Kate, but the problem is it is private. So you cannot access this method inside subclass. So you can see this first line is clear. Huh? We said in same class, okay, but in same package, uh, in same package subclass, default is accessible, but private is not accessible. Protected will also be accessible. Public is always accessible, right? So you can see here, if I make it protected, then that should be okay. Then that should be okay. So you can see here, I come back here, I compile. Now this has been compiled, right? So sleep is not in the Kate class, but it is being called from the animal class and where it is undefined because we don't know which animal we are talking about. So certainly we have written, we don't know where this animal is going to sleep because we don't know which animal we are talking about. Right. So if you have any question up to this point, if you have any question up to this point,
No, sir.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Very good, very good. We have got only 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Only 20 people are online. Where are other guys? Hmm?
सर संजय का इंटरनेट नहीं चल रहा था तो वो नहीं आया।
क्यों इंटरनेट क्यों नहीं चल रहा था? क्या मसला है इंटरनेट?
सर उसने एसएमएस किया मुझे मेरा नेट में प्रॉब्लम है तो मैं नहीं आ पाऊंगा।
अच्छा, चले। इन एनी केस आई विल
गिलगित के स्टूडेंट्स का भी इशू है तो उन लोगों ने ज्वाइन नहीं किया है।
क्या है गिलगित में क्या मसला है? गिलगित के स्टूडेंट्स का क्या मसला है बेटा?
सर इंटरनेट इश्यू।
लास्ट वीक ज्वाइन किया था उन्होंने?
सर वो ऑनलाइन में होता है, उनके यहाँ इंटरनेट इश्यू होता है, वो नहीं ज्वाइन कर पाते।
अच्छा,
नहीं किया था।
चले अल्लाह बेहतर करे। आप में से कोई हॉस्टल पे रह रहा है या सब लोग घर चले गए?
सर अभी तो हॉस्टल्स का आया था ना, वो नोटिफिकेशन के वेकेट करनी है।
मतलब हॉस्टल बिल्कुल खाली है ना?
हाँ
हाँ, चले ठीक है। ओके, so we are clear that when we are in the inheritance relationship, any method which is defined as a not private, then it is automatically accessible in the derived class, right? And by the way, see here inside animal I can write here a string name, right, which is initially null, and then say for example animal and a string type, right, which is also initially null, right? And say for example what I'm going to do, I'm saying that we have, okay, say for example, yeah, that's okay. Inside animal we've got animal name and animal type, and I also say public void display animal, right? This will do nothing. This will just say system.out.println, we say name of the animal equal to plus name plus then type of the animal equal to plus type, right? So what we are doing, we just have two member variable. One is the name of animal and second is type of the animal. And I have also added an additional method which is going to display information about this animal, right? I have this inside animal, and inside Kate, what I'm going to do, inside Kate string name, maybe n, and then string t, right? So I'm saying that anybody who's going to create object of Kate, it should give me name of the Kate, and it should also give me the type of this animal, right? So say for example I say name, now I write here name equal to n and t equal type equal to t. Now you need to understand that I'm directly writing name equal to n. Although name is not defined in the Kate class, but we know that this name is already defined in animal class. So definitely this name will be accessible because it is having default access modifier. It is not private, so I can access it inside the Kate class. Similarly, type, though it is not created inside Kate class, but I can still access it because it is created inside animal class, right? So now we are expecting that if somebody is creating object of Kate, then he or she will provide me name of the Kate, and he or she will provide me type of the Kate, right? So I can now, when we come into here, do you think there is any issue if I run this program now? Do you think it will be compiled? Farman, what do you think? Do you think with this code, this inheritance demo will be compiled? Do you see any issue in that, Farman?
Yes, sir.
What is the issue?
Sir, I think compile हो जाएगा.
सर पैरामीटर
Saika, what do you say?
सर पैरामीटर इसमें पास करने पड़ेंगे ना.
Very good. क्यों? थोड़ा और एक्सप्लेन करें.
सर ये डिफॉल्ट है, वो पैरामीटराइज है.
ओके, तो डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर तो जावा प्रोवाइड करती है ना.
सर अगर
मैं
हम
बताऊं.
नहीं, साइका कंटिन्यू.
सर अगर हमें हम अपना बनाते हैं ना तो डिफॉल्ट की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती.
हाँ, ओके, वेरी गुड साइका, excellent. The answer is this code will not compile. The reason is we only have one constructor in Gate, and that accepts two parameters. And here we are passing no argument. We are creating, object of Gate by calling the constructor with no argument. And the issue is when you're providing your own constructor, then Java does not provide a default constructor, which means that this default constructor is not existing. So this is a compile time error. You can see here, CLS, Java C. You can see error, cannot find symbol, Kate, which does not accept these two. कह रहा है कि ये वाला argument, बिना argument के जो constructor वो exist नहीं कर रहा है. Which means that we need to provide name of the Kate. So I can say it's Kate and its type is mammal. Right, it's a mammal. Right, now this should be okay. You can see when I compile it. Okay. There is one issue. string. Okay, मैं थोड़ा इसको वापस आ गया यहाँ पर. इसको मैं कंट्रोल X करता हूँ. Control S. So you can see the issue is we do not have this constructor. We do not have constructor Kate. Kate cannot be applied to. कह रहा है कि बिना आर्गुमेंट वाला कंस्ट्रक्टर है नहीं, मुझे दो स्ट्रिंग चाहिए. Right, so we provide two strings, control Z, control S. So now you can see CLS, Java C, inheritance demo, and then I can then execute this program without any issue. Right, now finally what I do, I say C dot display animal. C.display animal. Now you know that this display animal method is not available inside Kate, but that's fine. Kate के अंदर ये नहीं है, लेकिन कोई मसला नहीं है, क्योंकि ये वाला मेथड मेरे पास एनिमल के अंदर है. और एनिमल में मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? I'm just displaying name of it and type of it. And when I display it, it will do nothing. It will just display this information. CLS, Java C, Java. You can see name is Kate, type is mammal. Right, I can also say for example have another Kate. Right, so Kate की अगर name की बात है तो मैं इसको name दे देता हूँ, मिसाल के तौर पे हीरा, and this is a Chinese Kate. I can create another Kate. Right, I can name it C2 and I can call it Malami. Right, and we say this is a Filipino Kate, right? Filipino Kate, for example, just for the sake of execution, right? And then certainly when on C2 I call display animal, that this information will be displayed, Malami and Filipino, whereas previously it was Hira and Chinese. Right, so you can see here CLS, it will be first called for C1 and then for C2. So you can see two different methods have been called, first on C and second on C2. Clear? And by the way, if it is declared as a private in the base class, then this is an issue, because name and type are private in the animal, and inside Kate you are trying to access name and type. So certainly issue will be here. When you compile Kate, it will say cannot find name, cannot find type. The reason being, both of them are private inside animal class. So you can see here, because they are private, so you cannot access them. Come on, I haven't saved. Everything is saved. Why am I able to access them? I should not be. Oh, really? Animal. Okay, let me check it. Java C animal dot Java. Java C Kate dot Java. You can see name is private, so it cannot be accessed. Right. I mean, the problem is previously when I was executing directly, inheritance demo, so I had that class file. Okay, dot class was already there. So, animal inheritance demo was able to compile क्योंकि उसके पास क्लास फाइल ऑलरेडी पड़ी हुई थी ना. लेकिन अगर मैं वो सारी क्लास फाइल डिलीट कर लूं, से फॉर एग्जांपल ऐसे रिमूव स्टार डॉट क्लास, रिमूव rm, कौन सी कमांड है, डिलीट है, ठीक है. सो यू कैन सी है अब ये वाला कंपाइल नहीं होगा. राइट, सो यू कैन सी अब ये कोशिश कर रहा है तो उसको नेम और टाइप प्राइवेट मिल रहे हैं, तो इस वजह से ये आगे नहीं बढ़ रहा है. क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, even protected is okay. Protected is okay. Protected is okay. But private is not okay. Now when I have made it protected, now compiling Kate is again an issue. Java C animal dot same is animal dot Java. Java C Kate dot Java. You can see, protected is also okay. Protected is also okay. Public certainly okay. Public is always okay. Public is always okay. It is accessible almost everywhere. But only private is an issue. Only private is an issue. Java C Kate dot Java. This one is okay. But only if you make it private, then that will be an issue. Now remember one thing, this point is clear. When you've got a subclass, then it can access a superclass method as well as member variable, except those which are private. Everything else can be accessible. The second point is, if there is a method in the base class, you can override it. And when you override it, and then if you call method on the derived class reference and object, then the method from derived class will be called. It's in a way you can say the base class method will be hidden in the derived class, right? Same way, if that is a private method, then it is not possible. Another rule, remember one thing, in Java, we say that when you are overriding method, then you can, you can kind of make it less restrictive, the access modifier inside the derived class, but you cannot make it more restrictive. For example, I should write here this is an important concept and you need to understand it. The most restrictive is private. Then the default is the next more restrictive. Then protected, and then public. So if you have, say for example, a default method in the base class, you can make it public. But if you have a public method in the base class, you cannot make it default. So this is the rule in inheritance. When you are having inheritance relationship between two classes, then the method in the derived class can have less restrictive access modifier, but cannot have more restrictive access modifier. The reason is simple. Reason is logical, because there is a base class in which you have made something less restrictive, so that's not very private. So you should not make it more restrictive, right? So say for example, if I have this method as a public method, public void sleep. Inside animal, sleep is public. Now inside Kate, if I have made, say for example, sleep method, if inside here inside Kate, if I have got sleep method and I say system dot out dot println I am Kate, I can sleep anywhere, right? So if that is the case, now you can see what we have done. We have sleep method inside animal. Inside animal, we have sleep method, and that is public. But inside Kate, we are overriding this method, and we are overriding with more restrictive access modifier, which is default access modifier. Where when you do not provide any access modifier, then it is a default access modifier. Now, when we have got default access modifier, if you are making it more restrictive, then this is not allowed in method overriding. You can keep less restrictive, but you cannot keep more restrictive. And as a matter of fact, in base class it is public, and public is most restrict, most the least restrictive. So obviously in derived class, sleep must be public. You cannot make it protected, you cannot make it default, you cannot make it private. So when you're doing method overriding, then you need to take care of the access modifier. The access modifier can be less restrictive, but it cannot be more restrictive. So in this case, it is public. In derived class, it cannot be default. So you will see that this code will be an issue. So I say Java C animal.java. That's okay. Java C Kate.java will be an issue. Should be an issue. Should be an issue. Have I saved it? No, I have not saved it. Save it. Yes, Java C. So you can see sleep in Kate cannot override sleep in animal. So you can see sleep attempting to assign weaker access privileges. It was public and you are trying to assign less, more restrictive. So that's not possible. Right, but other way around is okay. Other way around is okay. I mean, if you make this one default, default in both is okay. You will see that this will compile animal and this will also compile Kate. That's perfectly fine. But even if inside animal it is default and inside Kate, if you make it public, Java will accept it. That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. You will see it will still be okay. Java C Kate. So that's okay. You are making it less restrictive. So that's okay. But you're going to make it more restrictive. For example, you cannot make it, I think you cannot make it private. You cannot make it private. You cannot make it private. See here, Java C, you can see, you cannot make it private, attempting to assign weaker access privileges. Must package. Clear with this concept?
Yes, sir.
We will come back to this when we will be using, polymorphism. Sir, are the name and type is accessible using getter and setter when they are private? Yeah, they are. Within class, they are accessible, but outside class, they are not. Yes, use public methods that they are accessible. Great, great. Okay, so it's already 3:30. We stop here. If you have more questions, just watch the video. I'll upload it on YouTube. You can again raise those questions in our next class. I think we will not have any class in the coming week because of the Eid vacation. But then the week after Eid, we are hopeful that we will have face-to-face classes, but chances are very bleak. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see. Any question before we end the lecture today?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. By the way,
The final decision कब आएगा? कि ऑनलाइन होंगी या फिजिकल?
यार वो गवर्नमेंट जैसे अनाउंस करती है, गवर्नमेंट की अनाउंसमेंट आज भी यही है कि 18 मई से ना फेस टू फेस शुरू हो जाएगा, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर गवर्नमेंट ने इसको रिव्यू नहीं किया। तो गवर्नमेंट अगर हमें कहती है कि 18 से नहीं 1 जून से करना है तो हम भी वहीं चले जाएंगे। So we are waiting for the announcement from government.
सर क्या उम्मीद है सर, केसेस तो बढ़ ही रहे हैं।
यार केसेस का भी पता नहीं चल रहा है ना, आजकल तो केसेस कम हो रहे हैं, वरना आपको पता है कि केसेस 5,000 5,500 से भी बढ़ गए थे, लेकिन आजकल तो ये 4 4,500 कुछ पता नहीं चलता है। कोविड इज सो अनप्रिडिक्टेबल, इट समटाइम टेक्स exponential growth and sometime you see it's going down. So we are not sure what will happen, but probability is very high that we will stick with the online mode. And remember, when we come back after Eid, I will have quiz every week, because फिलहाल तो मैं क्विज नहीं ले रहा था, इसका रीजन यही था कि बच्चों को एक्सेस नहीं है, तो इस वजह से मुझे फिलहाल क्विज को साइड में रखना चाहिए। लेकिन अब अगर ये जो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस का टाइम अगर बढ़ रहा है तो फिर मजबूरन हमें वीकली क्विज रखनी पड़ेगी। पहले जो मेरी सोच ये थी कि 2-3 क्लासें ही होंगी ऑनलाइन, लेकिन अब लग रहा है कि पूरा मई पूरा जून हो सकता है कि फाइनल एग्जाम भी ऑनलाइन लेना पड़े, क्योंकि आप चांसेस कम नज़र आ रहे हैं कि हम रिज्यूम करेंगे। लेकिन फिर वही बात की चीज़ें बड़ी अनप्रेडिक्टेबल है, so we cannot say anything at this stage. We will wait for the government announcement. चले, थैंक यू बेटा, थैंक यू। मैं ये वीडियो अपलोड कर लेता हूँ, आप प्लीज बुक को भी पढ़ें, बहुत सारी प्रैक्टिस करें और इन वीडियोस
यस सर,
बाकी क्लास भी बता दें कि क्लास पार्टिसिपेट करें, क्योंकि अब मजबूरी है, हमें नहीं लग रहा है कि फेस टू फेस इतना जल्दी रिज्यूम होने वाला है, तो भाई कोई अरेंजमेंट कर लेना इंटरनेट वगैरह का। थैंक यू बेटा, थैंक यू, बाय।
थैंक यू सर,
अल्लाह हाफिज़।
अल्लाह हाफिज़।